Presented by AfterBuzz TV and hosted by Hall of Fame superstar Sean X-Pac Waltman, this is X-Pac 12360. And now your host, WWE Hall of Fame superstar Sean X-Pac Waltman.
Welcome, everybody, to X-Pac 12360.
I like the suspension there.
Right?
Yeah.
Like how I did that?
Yeah, you paused, and I was like, oh, welcome to...
Dramatic pause. Yeah, this is our final show of the year, and final show of the decade.
You know, it always blows my mind how quick these things go by. Like, before I know it, we start the year, and then the next thing you know it, hey, we're on the last show. I feel like I remember last year's last show so vividly, and I'm like, how did that go by so fast?
Yep. Well, I mean, as we get older, it seems even quicker, Denise.
That's
I know
scary
you
to
hear
me.
that and
Yeah.
all that. And I'm sure for you, even now, at your age, I mean, you're not 30 yet.
No.
But, like, the perception of time has started to get quicker for you, right?
It
Since
really
you were a little kid,
has.
right?
Yes. Like, I remember being in middle school and thinking, oh, God, this year's never going to end. And now I remember planning my New Year's Eve celebrations last year. And I'm like, now I'm planning them again. Like, that's kind of really scary to me. Like, I feel like I'm running out of time.
Yeah. Wow.
We started on a positive note there.
Yeah. No, it is. It's just the way it is. And so, like, it just makes me more grateful and, like, and it also makes me try harder to be in the moment, you know?
That's true.
And enjoy things and be present right now and enjoy life instead of, you know, projecting into the future, like, or just living in the past.
Right. But it's also interesting how much can happen in a year. Like, if you think about it, January, we were still sort of, preparing for the road to WrestleMania. WrestleMania comes, you're in the Hall of Fame, and then a few months later, and you're like, oh, like, this is happening again. Like, it's crazy, all of those things that happened in this 1 year.
Yeah. And so, like, since you mentioned the Hall of Fame, I was still... I still hadn't come down from the high of this past year's Hall of Fame ceremony, and then I get a call. Hey, going to the Hall of Fame again.
Right? That's what I'm saying. A lot of things can happen in 1 year. Like, it makes you, like, more hopeful for the following year, you know?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
The other day I did Sam Roberts' show.
How was that?
It was fine. I mean...
Well, you guys are good friends.
Sure. I don't know why I just brought that up. Because, I mean, we just talked about a lot of the same stuff you talked about last week.
Oh,
nice.
nice.
But, Sam's been a good friend.
He's a friend of the network's, too. This is Jeff, your producer in the booth, and our CEO, Keven Undergaro, is very close to Sam, so always nice to keep it in the family, Sean.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. He really is, man. Like, I was one of Sam's first big interviews. Like, before, when he was still, like, a producer of the Opie and Anthony show, and he really hadn't really made the name for himself yet. And so I'm proud of that.
That's
I've been
really
a Sam
cool.
Roberts fan before just about anybody.
You get to see the growth from, like, where he started to, like, where he is now, et cetera.
Yeah. And Keven, too, right? And like you were just saying, Jeff, Keven, Undergaro, separately, was big fans of Sam. So when Keven and I connect and then we have all of that in common, it's just pretty cool.
It's really cool. Makes the world feel pretty small when that stuff happens, which is always good.
Yeah. So, Denise, what are we going to talk about
All right, well, obviously we started talking about all the things that happened in a year. Well, there was so much that happened in the world of wrestling, and literally as I was driving over here, like, all these things just, like, kept popping up into my head. I was like, wait, this happened, that happened. We need to talk about this on the show. So let's go ahead and kind of start off talking about some important wrestling moments that happened this year. Let's go ahead and start off with no particular order. This year we had the first ever women's main event at WrestleMania. And that was very historic. And not only the fact that it wasn't just because they were women, no, they were the hottest thing on the show. So let's kind of dive into that. And, maybe something, I don't know, did you ever think you'd see the day?
Well, I did, starting the night of WrestleMania.
The previous one?
Previous one. When Ronda and Kurt Angle had their match with Steph and Hunter.
New Orleans, right? Yeah, that was New Orleans.
Yeah. So after that, in my mind, and I even told Ronda Rousey the next day, like, you're going to be in WrestleMania. You're going to be in the main event of WrestleMania next year. I just knew it in my mind. Like, I could just see it all coming together. And it's easy to say that, like, after it all happens. Oh, I saw it coming. I called it. And I'm probably not the only one.
Right.
It just seemed like that was the natural progression of things.
And it's so crazy because during that point in time, I'm sure you didn't expect to see Becky. You might have expected Charlotte, but you didn't expect Becky Lynch as well.
Right.
And to kind of sort of see that all culminate into this year, like, it's pretty intense how that all happened.
And just to watch, like, how they adjusted creatively, to accommodate that, Becky coming in prominence and becoming so hot so quick. And kind of throwing a little monkey wrench into the long-term plans for that, right?
Right.
And I thought they did a really good job of adjusting.
Like, she made, and like, whatever their plans were, because of her, they had to change those things clearly. And I mean, obviously, we don't know what the original plans were, but it's safe to say that maybe nobody saw her coming in that sense, But I think one of the cool things about all of this, though, is that people were genuinely interested to see everybody obviously had their money on Becky, expecting her to have her big WrestleMania moment. Yeah. But I'm sure there were some people that probably thought, well, maybe they could go with Ronda Rousey, or, surprise us all and go with Charlotte. So I think that I remember that day where people were, really talking about who their picks were, who they thought, but then, people were second guessing who might win this, See,
I didn't make a pick. I just, like, I could see a case for any of them winning that.
And see, that's the good thing, that it made you have a case for everybody, because not every match has that. And that was one of the things that on Fightful last night we were talking about on Raw. That was one of the things that we were talking about during the Gauntlet match, where I was like, you need to have contenders, wrestlers that you actually think have a shot at winning this, whatever it is, whether it's a tournament, a main event, etc. Like, you want to believe that this person has a shot, even if they're not your pick.
Well, it's really important. Really important. I mean, else, what's the... I don't know, makes the match mean a whole hell of a lot less when you don't have that. So, obviously.
Yeah. All right. So there you go. So that happened there with that. Yeah. That was iconic. I think that that's definitely a moment that, they were able to have and, appreciate. So one of the other things that I was thinking about, obviously, was the move for Smackdown to Fox and NXT on the USA Network. So let's start off with NXT on the USA Network. How do you think that has all gone in terms of, like, the success, the storylines, the whole thing, and, just what it meant, what it means for the business and what it means for those guys in NXT to, be now on the USA Network?
Well, as far as, like, what it means, like, it's not really for me to say what it means to another individual. Like, we kind of, each person kind of, like, things mean something different to different people, and like, like we were talking about, I don't know, in the last week or two, I can't remember which show it was, but it was in the last few weeks, how, the actually, like, the demographic of the NXT roster is quite diverse, not just, like, ethnically or gender-wise or anything like that, but just, like, age-wise and experience levels. So, yeah, some people, like, are, like, because of that, it can mean different things to different people, right? Like, it's...
What about from a business perspective, like a standard, like, as a fan, like, how this changes, like, wrestling, where you're like, oh, you not only have Raw and SmackDown, now you have NXT too, and sort of seeing it, because we saw this big shift from it going from a developmental brand to it being on par, we saw the whole Survivor Series and all of that, with it actually being on par with Raw and SmackDown in terms of how it's seen, because it should no longer be seen as a developmental brand.
Yeah, and I gotta take my hat off to them when it comes to how they did that, because, like, in the past, say, like, Survivor Series or things like that, the perceived top brand, like, the big show was Raw, right? And then SmackDown was on Tuesday, and it wasn't So like I remember like last year, year before, like SmackDown brand got their ass handed to them, right? Like
They
it just
did,
made
the year
it look
before.
like nothing, and then have to go and pick up the pieces the next week and like try to build all their stars back up on TV. So that didn't really happen. Like it was actually the opposite, right?
Yeah, it
Building
was.
Introducing NXT roster to the greater, universe that might not have been familiar with them. So I think they did a great job on that.
And the lead up to that, where they had, the NXT stars on SmackDown, which was, probably like, I don't recall people raving about a SmackDown like that one this whole entire year. So like, I feel like that says a lot. But
are we talking about when they had the transportation issues?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I think it was the November.
Oh, they're Saudi. They can get back from Saudi, right?
Yeah. I think it was the November 1st SmackDown.
Yeah, when they just had to throw something together and fly in the guy,
And it ended up working extremely well. Yeah. So, like, that's what I'm saying. Like, I think, like, in terms, like, this to me, it was a big deal because, NXT, people were raving about it, but now it's on the same playing field with Raw and SmackDown.
And it was like, it was kind of like the cool kids had the secret, like...
The underground club, yeah.
like the punk, kind of a punk
rock vibe, yeah.
Yeah.
No, then that's the thing, and like now the fact that they have this going, it's just, it's good for everybody. We've talked about it. We talked about it with Damian Priest, etc. We've talked about it nonstop here, and we'll talk more about it later, actually. But now let's go ahead and sort of talk about SmackDown on Fox, because this was a big deal. Because as we know, Fox is a big network, and for them to sort of make that move there, and sort of be, there's always been, It was more of a mainstream move, and then to be more associated with, sports, I thought that was a big impact and a big change for WWE. But what were your thoughts on that?
I'm really impressed because in the past, like the networks that have partnered with various wrestling promotions haven't gone nearly as all in as Fox has with WWE in this, and as far as getting behind them and promoting them, and promoting them on their other shows, on football, on baseball, all of it. So it's really hard for anyone to blame Fox if things don't go right in this.
Right.
Like, the network really wasn't supporting us. Like, they've done a great job, excellent job.
They've been everywhere, what do you call it? My fiance's big on sports, and he's always watching the games, and it's always very like astonishing to me where, I'll be casually watching, and then bam, I'll hear the promotion for SmackDown, and I'm like, that is so, it's not something that we're used to seeing, I think. And, having the guys go to the shows, and, them being talked about, on commentary, which I thought was pretty cool. But one of the things that I remember talking about this heavily with everybody during the blue carpet that they did was the fact that they were being seen on a different playing field. And one of the things that is really cool too is that the women were being, Becky Lynch was one of the faces, that Charlotte was one of the ones that was doing all the promotional stuff. So it seems like they were going, like, it was a big change overall, not just like, it was a big change overall.
Yeah.
All right. And now, obviously, we have to talk about this because one of the biggest things that happened in wrestling was AEW coming and, basically putting their show on, and the Wednesday Night Wars with AEW and NXT. So in terms of that, like, how do you think that changed this year in wrestling?
I mean, besides the obvious, I don't know. Like, I mean, the obvious,
competition.
Shit. I'm sitting here like speechless. Like, it's just I don't want to say something that's just the same old shit. Like everyone says, oh, it's just great. Everyone, making more money, blah blah blah. Obviously. I guess I'm gonna talk about what it's done for the overall product, because look at these shows NXT is putting out because of that. Like, it's, I don't know. Every week I turn NXT on. It's so good. Even if there's a couple things here and there that aren't, complete home runs, they're still good. I don't know. I wish I had a better insight on that, on what you just asked me. It's just the obvious.
It's interesting.
It's great. Everyone making more money, you know, more leverage for talent. I don't know, you know.
Or what about the fans like weighing in and having this big emphasis on like weekly ratings? Like everyone's like stoked to see like what the ratings are, and maybe that has, you know, inspired some sort of spark, you know, within the wrestling fan community as well, you know, to, you know, be checking up on these shows and see what they're doing. You know, it adds, you know, that human interest to it.
Oh, sure. Yeah. I don't know. Let's move on.
All right, we'll move on. But those were just some of the big things that happened in wrestling. And I just thought, hey, 2019, all of these things happen, and I'm sure there's still a lot more that I didn't even mention, or like little things even with some of the outsider companies as well, which, you know, is pretty interesting to me. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump into, because this morning you were talking to me about the NXT year-end awards.
Hey, so do you not want to talk about like Marty Scurll and all that?
Okay, you want to do that first? Let's do that first. Okay, let's go ahead and jump into the news then, and then we'll talk about. No, it's okay. We'll then talk about the NXT year-end awards.
Because I thought that was interesting, and you ran like I wasn't familiar with
the Marty Scurll thing.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. So let's go ahead and Marty Scurll appeared on NWA's Into the Fire pay-per-view and basically confronted Nick Aldis after he had a match with James Storm, I believe. Yeah. And so, as we know, his contract expired November 30 with Ring of Honor. And everybody was like, oh, is Marty going to go with AEW? All his friends are there. Or is he going to, you know, do something different and go to WWE? Maybe go on NXT or something or whatever. You know, so people were asking themselves these questions. But then it sort of was a swerve surprise for him to appear on NWA, who has been getting, people have been saying a lot of good things about Power and the product that they have been putting out. Yeah. So for him to show up there was kind of, I think, unexpected. But Sean, I kind of want to talk about these things because right now it seems that people thought, hey, it's either AEW or WWE.
Yes.
But it seems to me like he might be going a different direction and maybe taking the direction of going towards the indies. Yeah. Because what I saw it as and how I pitched it to you this morning was, hey, WWE, AEW are going to be there regardless. Yep. This is a time, an opportunity to take, basically for him to make more money. Yes. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. Like all the marquee indie talent either has been gobbled up by one of the two, or, you know, for the most part, one of the two companies. I mean, you know, there's some in the MLW that are good gets talent-wise, obviously, and Impact. But so just a short, few months ago, last year, like there was a much greater availability for good talent, right?
Right.
Established talent on the indies, and it's just not there right now. I mean, it's all like, all the names that I think of have been
taken up,
and so there's a demand there, and these promotions still exist. I mean, they still. I think there's still that demand for that product, and so it's really smart. Yeah, I think it's actually smart of Marty.
Right, and granted, he hasn't made any official. Hey, we know he's a free agent, but the way I see it, I'm like, dude, go make your money. Yes. That's needed right now.
And he can do that on a nightly basis and stay a free agent to where he can sign with anyone and show up anywhere, just like that.
Right. And make an actual impact. That's because if he doesn't show up right away to AEW, or if he were to show up right away to AEW, it'd kind of be like, oh well, I expected that. They're friends, etc. They have a history. Yeah. If he were to show up to WWE, people are like, oh, okay, that's also interesting. But I think if time goes by, it'll be, sort of, impactful with whatever decision that he decides to make.
And Marty really and truly is one of the very top talents out there right now.
And he's unique. He's been unique, actually.
Yes.
We had him on the show over a year ago, and the way he talked about how he came up with his character development was just
Yeah.
Extraordinary. So that's what's going on with Marty Scurll. And one of the things I also want to talk to you about, because you mentioned it on Twitter, and we've also had this person as a guest before. It's PCO, who is now the new Ring of Honor champion.
Yep.
What are your thoughts on that?
I don't really follow ROH, except for what I see, on Twitter, online. But I'm aware that Carl has been performing at an incredibly high level ever since he came back on the scene. Doesn't really surprise me, actually. When it comes to him, like, he's always been incredibly durable and resilient, and some of the bumps I've seen him take. Like, I remember one time he worked with Bret Hart when he was the Pirate, not Bret, but when Carl was the Pirate, and he did like a Topicon Hero, and had Bret just move out of the way, and he just fucking ate shit right on the, like spam. Like, there's just things like that. He had no problem doing. Like, I've seen him do similar things like that recently.
Yeah.
But I'm so happy for him.
And he obviously has more pressure going into this, because people aren't going to be just nice about things nowadays. They're going to hold him to some people obviously are going to hold him to a different standard, but some people are going to hold him to the standard that everybody else is being held to. But it seems like, I know the events that I saw him, people were freaking out in the audience. I'm sitting there and I'm watching grown men going, oh my God, like, did he just do this? And that's... in that sense, I feel he brought something different, because every time he does something, it's so crazy, it's so powerful, it's impactful, it makes you just go, oh my God. And I feel like, we haven't gotten a lot of that when you're watching, somebody, you're impressed, but he made people just freak out about what he was doing, at least for the shows that I've seen.
And he put in a lot of work in developing that character, him and his manager, like they call it Destro, I think. And just all of that character work that went into this, and just really, really cool to see that for him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some people know, like, there was a history of the Clique and Carl, but that was a long time ago, and I'm really happy for the guy.
It's inspiring, I think.
Yeah.
Especially, I'm sure other guys are also inspired by seeing this, reinvention of himself. All right. So as we mentioned, we were going to talk about the NXT year-end awards. So can you kind of tell me a little bit, or tell everybody here, kind of about them and how you were voting and all of that stuff, and then we'll go into each one of them one by one.
Just that we like Hall of Famers are being included in the voting with the WWE Universe this year.
So you got to vote for your favorites. Okay, that's pretty cool. All right, so let's go ahead and kind of break them down. So for Takeover of the Year, your selection was
Cardiff. So
tell us a little bit about why you chose Cardiff for Takeover of the Year, because there are so many great ones. So what was it about that one?
That one was just that, like, you remember when the ring broke?
Yeah.
It was like it was that show, and even that match, like every match was just excellent on that show. Like, and you say that about all I talk about this all the time whenever discussing takeovers, whether it's like on my Twitter or here, like on the show. Like, they always do an amazing job of either topping or at least following the previous takeover, and this was just one of the the matches they built. Each match was excellent, and it just built until the Walter and Tyler Bate match, which is just I had no problem voting for that. Like, I know we haven't gotten there yet, but
we'll just get there. That was your match of the year,
NXT
the whole
match of the
year.
Yeah.
Tyler Bate and Walter.
And that's saying a lot, because oh my God, the women's war games, all kinds of great stuff.
There was so much that happened.
Like, I even said that. Like, I told Hunter and Sean, everybody. I'm like, man, I'm taking this really serious, and these are really tough decisions to make as far as choosing a winner. For
Did it
these
take
categories.
you long to pick?
a long time. Yeah, I don't really think hard.
But see, that's that. If you're a Tyler Bate, if you're Walter, and you're hearing this, and for you to say like, hey, he took a long time, and at the end he picked me, that I was part of this. So what was it specifically about this match that made you, or these two guys that made you stick out for you?
It was just a classic, you know. It was really innovative stuff. It wasn't just a bunch of, we have all these routines that we do with each other in matches, and it's all stuff we've seen before, and going in and out of it in the same ways. And it wasn't a lot of that in this match. It was just really fresh stuff and hard hitting, and just. It just looked like they were just fucking killing each other. And just Tyler Bate just, man,
he's a star.
Huge fan. I have since he was a kid. I mean, he's still kind of a kid, like, compared to us, but like, I mean, since he was in his teens, I've been a huge fan of his.
So I gotta ask, obviously been in the wrestling business for so long. Is it hard to be impressed by what you're seeing, or is it hard for certain guys or certain matches to impress you, or do you feel like you're more open towards that? Like, how do you when you're watching, and because you know it so well, like, what's your thought process when you're seeing certain guys do something?
I don't know. I don't really have a thought process. I try to go into it pretty, like, I try to make my mind a blank.
Like, you're not, like, nitpicking it.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And that way I can receive everything they're doing, without immediately going, oh, they fucked that up, or they did that, like, I just try to enjoy it.
Right.
I think we can still critique and analyze and all that without, some people, they just fucking ruin it.
Like, you can be a fan and still give your appropriate analysis, and not have to have people trash you, because I feel like that's a thing nowadays where you say, I'm a fan of this.
No selling, not doing that. Okay.
Yeah, sometimes just enjoy it for what it is. All right, so Tyler Bate, Walter from the Cardiff Show, what's your match of the year? So now let's go into Rivalry of the year. What was your pick?
For me, it was Cole and Gargano.
So I'm gonna ask you just for the sake of people knowing, but I know exactly why that was, Rivalry of the year. But for you, like, what was the reasoning behind it? I mean, obviously, but just for the viewer's perspective to get this.
It was the execution. It was well written, and they executed everything. And both guys did a really good job. Verbally, the matches were amazing. I don't know what else to say.
Well, I think the cool thing is about this one particularly is that, there's so many guys that we've seen, have match after match after match. And, sometimes eventually the interest is lost. But with these two guys, they had so many matches where each and every single one of them, you were like, oh, it can't top the last one because the last one was the best thing I ever saw. Yeah. And then the next one, you're like, okay, well, that was the best thing I ever saw. And the fact that they were still able to keep the people at the edge of their seats, really falling for everything that they did. And it's just, they always took it to a different level.
Yeah. That's right.
All right. Best tag team of the year.
UE.
For you, what was it about them that made you pick them?
I mean, obviously they're excellent in the ring, but it's just they're booked really strong. I mean, just be honest with you. I mean, it's kind of hard not to choose. It's either them or the Profits.
That's true.
It was tough because I was on the. I could have gone either way with that because good case could be made for Street Profits.
Oh yeah.
Excellent case.
All right, and this one,
like I said, they were booked strong as fuck.
Yeah, that helps. That helps.
Yeah.
So this next one, I was actually pretty. Actually, your next few answers, I was pretty surprised at. I'll be honest with you. But let's go ahead and start off with breakout star of the year. Your pick was
Keith Lee.
So Keith Lee there's obviously like there's
Tough
so much
because-
talent in NXT.
Okay,
Yeah.
it was tough because, and my boys are Riddle and Damian Priest, and you could talk about any of those guys. It's just most recently, Keith has made like, a huge impact when he was given the opportunity. So it's just hard for me to pick anybody else.
And it only feels recent because, he did have an injury back in March of this year. And then, he sort of came in and was part of the, the takeover, the invasion and all of that. And it really feels like it's a recent light that's been shined on him,
Yeah. Yep.
So, okay. And let's go ahead and talk about future star of the year. Your pick?
Zaya.
Yeah. So I think it's hard to, sort of like look forward the future and say like this person's going to be a star. I thought your answer was going to be Matt Riddle, to be honest, for this one.
He's already a star.
But like in terms of like getting that next level.
He's not even in that pick. You can't even pick him in the category.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Yeah,
okay.
no, there's people to choose from.
Okay. So what was it particularly about her?
She had zero experience. I don't even know if she ever watched wrestling before they recruited her. And she's really good. She has a really good handle on this, mentally on what to do in there. When she's like making her comeback, her fire she shows, and other people that have been in wrestling for way longer than her, like some of y'all need to look at her. When she's making her comeback, she fucking blows so many of y'all away. It's not even fucking funny. The way like she knocks somebody down, and instead of just standing there waiting for them to get back up, she's like, "Come on!" and like she's into it, and it just doesn't look like choreographed stuff.
It pulls you in.
Yes, and her technique is excellent.
All right, and I guess speaking of technique for this one, this is a good pick.
And her Twitter feed is really good too.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I should look into that. Okay. Female superstar of the year. Female star of the year.
Ooh, tough. That's tough. That's really tough.
Well, and
just based on performance, I had to go with EO. But it was tough for me not to pick Shayna.
I know. I think I was expecting you to pick Shayna.
Because she's my favorite.
Yeah.
She's my favorite. And overall, like, it's just, if I'm to be honest, like, man, nobody fucking could touch EO. Right? Like, just my opinion.
Well, it seems, and then she's one of those people that can have a great match with any style, any person that she's working in the ring with, and whatever their style is, she can pull out, a great match out of that person, and there's something about what she does.
Is almost just like Kairi Sane before her in NXT.
Right.
It's real, like, to me, like, they're really similar.
I feel like everything
EO
she does is like
such a
super
great
clean.
villain.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah. But it seems like whatever she does in the ring is like super clean and crisp. No matter how fast she's moving, she does everything the way it's supposed to be done.
And everything is done with purpose. Everything I see her do. So, and I'm just so impressed with her.
All right. And male star of the year.
Ciampa.
And for you, what was that?
Part of it obviously is he's booked in that position, and he's done he's done all the work. He's worked on his body, his look, his mic skills. Every match he's in. He just comes up as the top guy of NXT to me. It seems like they've kind of put him in that position, and he's risen to the occasion. And like I have no problem looking at him as that.
I feel like he's one of those guys that no matter who's in the ring with him, just by being in the ring with him, he elevates that person. That's how I feel when I see Tommaso Ciampa versus pretty much anyone, where I'm like, okay, you're in the ring with Tommaso Ciampa. Like, for me, it just makes me take you much more seriously and the match more seriously, because he just brings that attitude and that vibe to everything that he does.
Yeah. And, the old Tommaso Ciampa, I heard the name before, and I'd seen around, but I don't think he would take exception to hear me say this, but it was kind of forgettable. I didn't even think, like, when I heard the name, I couldn't put a face to it. Mind you, he looks way different now too, right? And that's all part of this. Like, I think there he is. I think he realized, you know, something has to change. You know, like it was just fine. It was a great part of any show, but like wasn't a standout, right?
Right.
Yeah, I'm a casual wrestling fan, you guys know, and when you look at this photo I have pulled up, there's nothing really distinguishing about previous Ciampa that would compare to now. There's such more of an identity with what he's made this year, I think.
Yeah, he's cultivated this image and this persona that is just, I mean, it's catapulted him.
Right.
Good for him, man. I'm so happy for him.
All right, and our last one, which was overall star of the year, and for you, that was...
Who did I pick?
Oh, I'm sorry. I just didn't want to give your answers for you.
You're putting me out to fucking...
Io Shirai.
You're hanging me out to dry here on several things.
Sorry. Io Shirai for you.
Yeah. That's just... I don't know. Like, that was... It could have been her. It could have been Ciampa. Could have been Shane. I don't know. I just had to kind of give her the edge.
Right. Because there's just too many people to pick from.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like there's kind of no wrong answer for this one.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true. I mean, else they wouldn't have been included in the category to choose from.
Right.
So.
All right, well, there you go. Those were your NXT year-end awards.
Yeah.
I'm sure everybody else has, I feel like everybody's take on this will be pretty fun to see.
Yeah. Yeah. So hopefully they don't get hot about me talking about this on the show. I just got this.
But why, though? Like, I feel like everyone's allowed to have an opinion. Like, you're a fan, have an opinion.
I just don't know if they've announced the award categories or anything yet. Have they?
I don't think so.
Oh.
Oh, I see what you mean now.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, when you told me about it.
Maybe I got too far ahead of it. But,
I mean, it's categories that are expected.
Yeah.
They're like every year-end award is sort of going to have these similar categories. So you can go up and decide for yourself.
I love it when I think I turned my phone off, but I really didn't. Sorry. Okay. Oh, fuck it. Whatever. What's
That's
next?
our show. That's what we've got. That's what
shit.
we've got. We went through it. We actually did like a lot of, talking about different things. Is there, do you have any picks for next year in terms of just not specifically just for NXT? Anybody that you want to see highlighted more next year?
Oh, it's not what I want. It's just observing things and this is 2020 is going to be Rhea Ripley's year.
That's a good pick.
Yeah. Oh, boy, it doesn't take a genius to figure that out.
Yeah.
Fuck. So, it's going to be a lot of their years. Riddle, Priest, Rhea, Shayna. They're all going to fucking kick ass. All of them. Keith. I'm missing, I'm leaving people out here. I'm just really, really big on NXT right now. What an incredible roster.
Well, especially with the platform now on USA Network, I think it's going to be clear for all of us to see that and, see what they've been doing. So it's pretty exciting, I think, for 2020, especially because there's still people that we haven't really seen, we've heard of, but once they get that focus on there, it'll, be even more exciting.
Yeah. All right. Well, I guess that's the show for this week. Appreciate everybody tuning in. See you next week right here, AfterBuzz TV Studios.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Keven Undergaro, Sean Waltman, and the entire X-Pac 12360 staff, thank you for tuning in to X-Pac 12360.